Recently, there was a discussion about hobbies and interests and how people just don't have those anymore. And I think that partly it's because people are busy, they don't have a lot of time. We're always working, taking care of things that we need to be taken care of. As you get older, there's also this idea that you're not supposed to have hobbies. You're not supposed to do anything other than work and do the duties that you have to do until you retire or something like that. Or that the hobbies that you want to do might cost a lot of money. They might be outside of your financial capability, or that they're for kids, they're childish activities, or that it's not worth it unless you can monetize it, unless you can turn your hobby into a side hustle, which might be possible, but it might not be possible. It might not be even something you want to do. I'm a big advocate for hobbies. I don't even like that word. It's such a dismissive word. Personally, I think it's more like interests, things you like to do. And I think everybody should have a few at least. I'm a big advocate for it. I think it helps with mental health issues. It can help you with social issues. It can help you with a lot of things. And if you ever want to or can monetize it, you can always look into that. But I think it should come from a place of doing something you love to do. And you should just do it because you love to do it. I'm a strong advocate for that. So let's explore today what kind of hobbies or interests you might be into or you might want to get into, what the cards are saying. We'll be reading from the Muse Tarot Deck, which I think is appropriate. Welcome back to Sweet Infinity. My name is Kieran, and today I'll be reading from this Muse Tarot Deck by Chris Ann. Gorgeous deck. Very unique artwork that has a collage element to it. Just very avant-garde images, very modern imagery. It's definitely inspired by the traditional Rider-Waite deck, but it has a very unique take on it. And it also changes the names of the suits. I have read from this deck before. If you're interested in purchasing this deck, I'll leave links for where you can get that in the description below. So while I shuffle, please go ahead and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already done so. And if you have already done so, I would love to hear from you about your hobbies and your interests. Leave me a comment. Just tell me at least one thing that you like to do besides work and taking care of your health and your fitness and your family or whoever it is who's relying on you. And, you know, the day-to-day things that you have to do. What is it that you'd like to do just because you want to do it, just because it brings you joy, brings you happiness, brings you pleasure? It could be anything. Some people like to read, of course. That's a perfectly fine hobby. Tell me what kind of stuff you like to read. Do you read fiction? Do you read short stories? Do you read science fiction, romance, thrillers? I'd love to hear from you. If you do something else for a hobby or an interest, let me know what that is. I just like to hear from you. So let's see. If you don't have a hobby yet, what would you like to have as a hobby? Let's go by that. I understand time is sometimes an issue, but we got to make time for these things. You know, life is only lived once, as far as we know. What does the Muse want you to remember about your hobbies, about your interests today? 5 of Voices. Voices are swords. In the traditional tarot deck, the 5 of Swords, which here is interpreted as a 5 of Voices, is a card of conflict, of feeling defeated, of just being run down, having been beaten in a fight or in an argument, and that feeling of dread and defeat that you feel after that. That's usually that card. And when we started talking about this topic, this came up, and that tells me that the topic of hobbies or interests, it can also be a kind of a source of traumatic memory for a lot of people. Because as we were growing up, when we were kids often, if we were lucky, we were encouraged to have some hobbies or some things. Play. We called it play back then. And as we get older, part of life is about learning to stop playing, learning to stop doing things just for the pleasure of it and just focus on paying the bills, doing what needs to be done, getting through your education, getting a job, finding a partner, having kids, paying the mortgage, keeping up your credit score. I understand that that's what being an adult means, of course. I've been an adult for most of my life. But we forget play. And play becomes something that in a lot of people gets repressed. And I feel like that's what this card represents, is that if you're watching this video, maybe on some level, the concept of play, of having a hobby, right? I'm putting that in quotes. Again, because it's a word that's used as like, oh, that's just trivial. It's dismissive. A hobby, that's just like a hobby for you. Like it's not real. It's not important. You do that after everything else you're supposed to do, right? And so that's what you feel on some level. We all do that. I feel that. I have felt that. It's taken me a long time to understand where that comes from and how to deal with it. So let's get into that. You're probably an adult who was discouraged from playing. Maybe whatever it is that you like to do involved the sun. Maybe it was gardening. Maybe it was being outside in some way, hiking, walking, traveling of some kind, photography, something that involves light and the sunshine. Maybe being at a beach or swimming. It could be a lot of different things, but there's something that you miss about that time. There's something nostalgic about that. And a part of you that's here, that's feeling that defeatism, that feeling of repressed emotion, of feeling battered down. This is the exact opposite of that. This is the card of hope. This is the card of immersive joy. The sun is all immersive. We cannot escape the sun. We don't want to escape the sun. And it's all around us. And it can also burn us. There can be sunburn. But the sun is the source of all life. Without the sun, there is no life on planet Earth. You are missing that. You're missing a connection with the sun. If you live in the northern hemisphere right now, it's summertime. It's a good idea for you to spend some time in the sun. Even if your hobby or interest or whatever you want to do does not directly involve the sun, try to get some sunlight in your life. Try to get some sunshine in your life. Three of Swords. You have been bruised, betrayed. Again, we've got the Five of Swords and then we've got the Three of Swords. And the sun is trying to poke out, but there is so much pain. Unresolved pain still. And maybe it comes and goes. Maybe you're not always stuck in it because there's the sun peeking through, right? But there's a lot of trauma, pain, betrayal. I feel like you were maybe even physically stopped from having your hobbies, your playtime, whether through violence or some other means, that you were physically stopped at some point from doing the thing that you like to do, whether it was dancing, coloring, painting, singing, some kind of sport. You were stopped from doing that and you felt betrayed. Maybe somebody who stopped you was somebody you were looking up to and you didn't expect that from them. Page of Inspiration is the student of passion, the student of energy that goes into following your passion. You can start over. This is the energy of starting over. Maybe you are not at the point where you might have been if you had continued with the play, the hobby that you liked back then. Maybe you wanted to be an actress or an actor, and you feel like you spent a lot of time ignoring that part of you. And there comes a time when you might think, well, I missed out on that opportunity. But whatever your age is, this page of inspiration is calling you to keep going and to start over. It doesn't matter if you have to start over at the skill level that you had back then, and maybe you never got a chance to develop further, because you're a lifelong learner. Because until we are done with this mortal coil, we are allowed to learn new things. We're allowed to learn old things. We are allowed to start over. at least in the ways that are nourishing to ourselves and to others, we're allowed to make a different choice. You are allowed to choose to be the person you could have been, or at least some version of that. I'm not saying that we can turn back time, but we are allowed to get in touch with the parts of ourselves that we had to abandon in order to cope with this world. If you're watching this video, you are allowed. You have the permission. Muse of Voices. The Muse card in this deck is traditionally the King card. So this would be the King of Swords. This is the energy of the no BS person. Somebody who goes for what they want and who doesn't allow illogic to get in the way. They expect logic all the time, rationality. Now, this is the third Voices card, which is the Swords card that came up. Swords is a heavy suit. It's the suit of overthinking, constantly analyzing to the point where we stop ourselves, where we get in our own way, where we stifle our own emotions. And this is the king of that. Now, the king by this point, it could be a figure in your life who has stunted your ability to play. It could be an aspect of yourself, or it could be both. It could be a figure in your life who stunted your ability to play, and then you internalized him or her, and now you stunted yourself even long beyond that figure was in your life. Maybe they said something that hurt you. Maybe they stopped you in some way. How do you deal with this figure, whether they're external to you or internal to you? Queen of Emotions. That's the Queen of Cups. So I said, how do you deal with the King of Swords? Queen of Cups. The Queen of Cups holds all the emotion, and she's not afraid of it. And she has the capacity to be in touch with it, to be in touch with her emotions. She is a beautiful goddess of love and nurturing. She could be that aspect of yourself that allows you to forgive yourself and whoever might have throttled you back then. She also lets you let go of unhealthy attachments. Whether that means somebody you need to slowly, carefully distance yourself from now, or a memory that you need to resolve. If you notice, there's a lot of water energy in her because she is the Queen of Cups, Queen of Emotions. And then we had the Sun card before. What I'm seeing is that not only should you be spending time in the sun, try to spend some time near a body of water. Even if your hobby or playtime, whatever it is, does not have anything to do with the sun or water. Let's say you like to play a musical instrument or act on a stage. That's fine. Spend time in the sun and near a body of water. It could be a lake, a river, an ocean, a pond, anything that's a natural body of water. The bigger the better, personally. I love being near the ocean or waterfalls. I love waterfalls and rivers. Take advantage of this time of year when it's possible to be outside and give your body the time it needs to figure it out, because at this point, the muse is telling you that you've got all this pain and trauma. I hope you're finding a way to process that. This figure might have been a masculine force in your life that was stifling you in some way, but you need to deal with that through love and not just pushing it away, not just delaying dealing with it, not just delaying even thinking about it. The Five of Emotions tells me that you have felt deprived, whether you have been actually deprived or not, financially. You have felt deprived. You have felt unable to express yourself because you didn't have the tools, you didn't have the resources, you didn't have the supplies, whatever it is that you needed. Maybe you have the capacity to do that now. Maybe you didn't have it as a kid. Maybe your parents couldn't afford it. Maybe you were not in a situation where that would have been feasible for you to pursue whatever it is you really wanted to do. Maybe you can do that now for yourself. Find a way to find affordable tools, affordable supplies, whatever it is that you need. As an adult, you have a lot more control and agency over your life and your choices. And that's ultimately the lesson here. The world. As an adult, you have the world to work with in a way that you didn't have access to as a child. One of the things that really freed me sometime in my 30s, I really realized that I was never going to be a child again. Ever. Whatever I went through, it was never going to happen again. And I didn't realize for how long I was living in this constant replay mode where I kept replaying it and on some level reliving it. And it wasn't until I really internalized that I will never be 18, 17, 15, 12, 10, 7, any of that. I will never be that age again. And for better and for worse. Because there's a sadness there. There's a grieving that has to be done. Because you missed out on things. Everybody does, right? But then you get into your actual life. Because now you are no longer the child. You could stay in touch with that inner child aspect of you. And that's also very healthy to do. But you will never be in those positions again. You will never be dependent on the world like you were before. Or at least not in the same way. Maybe if you live long enough, you'll be dependent once you're older. But you will never be a child again. And that is the world card for me. It's about coming to terms with your place in the context of the world, in the context of your life. So the Muse deck today have told me that for all the trauma and betrayal and pain and domination that you have suffered, that you have been through, you are starting to look at the sun, and you have the right to do that, and you have the permission to do that. That even if you can't afford the most flashiest of tools, it doesn't mean you shouldn't play. It doesn't mean you shouldn't pursue the thing that you want to do, the hobby, the interest, whatever it is you want to call it, the thing that brightens up your heart, whatever it is. And it could be more than one thing. You might want to try a few different things. Do you like crafting? You can get supplies from thrift stores, from like places like Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist. You can find things in yard sales. You can connect with other people who may be giving away things. And you need to approach all of this with love for yourself, even love for those who might have wronged you. Not necessarily to forget about what they did, but because they were coming from their own place of deprivation and trauma. And it's not your job to fix them. You can let them go in love. And ultimately spend time in the sun and near water in a safe way. Try to do it where you get to spend some quiet time in a place like that. It'll help you. I hope this was a useful reading. There are many others on this channel I would love for you to check out. If you're interested in one-on-one readings or you want to support me, you can contact me through Patreon. I'd love to hear from you. Please remember to like this video, do a thumbs up, and come back and watch another one sometime. As always, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and have a sweet infinity.